Hey everybody, it's Mick Levinskas here. We love talking to people about climate technology and solutions. And one of the biggest things that all the climate tech companies in climate side face is how to go and find enough buyers for your products. And obviously there's policy which is driving it. And obviously there's a lot of people who are might be individually trying to actually do all the right things. But I think particularly for companies here in Australia, and for those people who'd like to see Australia make more progress in this. There's a nagging question hanging over this, and it's been very, very political in the last 2 weeks. It goes to a lot of it, which is what does the average Australian actually think about climate action, and what are they prepared to do? Um, and I'm very luckily to run into Jenny recently, and we've known each other for a while. And Jenny's finished research, which I think gets to the heart of this, and it's a really interesting kickstart of an important conversation. So, Jenny, great to have you on, and would love to. Can you give us a quick background and tell us about the study and how it came about?
Yes. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me, Mick. So the study came about, well, the backstory to it is I've got a background in journalism. I've founded a publishing company now. I've got a comms agency, but and always through the lens of sustainability. And I've always felt frustrated by traditional studies that talk about how Australians feel about climate and sustainability. Um, the kind of the stats that you read, 90% of those surveyed say that they would make a switch to a sustainable product or a more sustainable kind of action. I kind of always felt frustrated at that because there's this thing and it's similar to making a New Year's resolution, where people say one thing especially when it comes to climate, and then their behavior doesn't reflect, or the action doesn't back up what they've said. So I've always felt vaguely frustrated by the research that comes out, and been always wanted to get to the heart of how Australians really feel about climate, especially now in this current environment. Before COVID, there was like this point where everyone seemed really engaged. And there's many reasons now that people don't seem engaged. And I've just really wanted to kind of understand that and quantify it. So I got introduced to Michelle Gilmore, who's the CEO of an AI-led research company called Hey Juno. And through a series of conversations, we landed on working on this study together. So it's the Climate Sentiment Report, where we surveyed 200 Australians across various demographics to meet them where they are and understand truly how they feel about climate and sustainability, and to begin to understand what the levers for change could be. And that's like a big undertaking, and I feel like this is just beginning to peel back the layers. And so the results are there's nothing like groundbreaking, but it validates what I've felt and assumed for a while, in that the takeaway is that Australians still care, but they feel disillusioned, and they're tired, and they're not certain that the changes that they're making are having enough of an impact for it to matter. And yeah, that's kind of like the major takeaway. And the other takeaway was that there's a very large perception that living sustainably is expensive. Like that came up a lot. And so then I think there's a secondary comms challenge to that when it comes to climate sustainability. Living sustainably doesn't mean you have to invest in these expensive products. It can save you money. It just means living with less. Yeah, so that's something interesting that came out all along the way. But if you want, we can kind of flick through some of the findings, and I can talk to some of the points, and you can kind of, I'd love to get you to ask me questions so that I can stop
Yeah,
talking for so long.
yeah, no problems, I bet. So let's bring it up and just go through it. Can you see that okay?
Uh, no, I can't see it.
Oh, just, climate sentiment report.
Mm.
Let me see if I go full screen. Uh, can you see that now?
No.
Is it on a different screen or something? Oh, let me try it again.
Oh, hang on.
Uh,
Sorry, everyone. There we
Hey,
go. Yep, I can see it.
got it. Okay, great. Um, well, I think I'm in slideshow mode, but that should be okay. Oop, it's going automatically, which is a challenge. Oh, there we go. So that's the intro from Jenny, the executive summary with some key components. Encourage everyone, we'll share links around to this, but six big themes. And you covered off a few of these ones, but there's obviously there's a big action gap between what people would like to do and what they're able to do, and that's caused by a few things. My view of this is an interesting one for climate tech entrepreneurs is that if we ever hoped that the whole world would just buy environmentally better products because they are purely on that basis, even if they were more expensive or if they were not as good, then that was going to be a pretty hard battle. We
Yeah.
had to kind of make better products, but that
Yes.
it's kind of and I guess as you get out of the early adopters, we're going to face that anyway. Like the environmental desire is a bit smaller, so therefore the cost they're prepared to put up with is smaller as well.
Yeah.
Um, and there is also a fatigue thing of like, well, I used a paper straw and climate change is still happening. So it's kind of
Yeah.
like it's the time scale is difficult.
Yes. It's it's kind of like, and this is from like if you own a business and you're building a product that you want Australians to buy, it
Yeah,
needs to be it needs to be an amazing product or an amazing service and then happen to be sustainable too, I think is what this
yeah,
point talks to. It's like it can't
yeah,
be one or the other. They both have to be interconnected,
yeah.
which I get.
Yeah, yeah, and I think again that was just something a reality, but I think we're recognizing again that we've hit that moment. We've gone well past that moment, and I think
Yeah,
especially given inflation and cost of living, there is just there's a lot of pressures to say that it's got to focus on economic benefit, not purely environmental benefit, which I think that makes sense. Um,
totally.
the
So,
the next one, yeah, yeah, go ahead.
just language fatigue, which speaks
Yep,
to greenwashing.
yep,
Um, it's now come full circle almost so that if you're using the language eco or sustainable, um, it almost turns people off because there's a trust element. They no longer trust those words. We've become desensitized. Um, yeah, so I
yep.
have wrote a stat down here. I've lost it. But yeah,
Is there?
basically it's no longer like it's no longer useful for like greenwashing no longer yeah, we,
Yep.
we all know. But someone commented on my a LinkedIn post that I did recently, who he kind of was challenging the point of challenging this point and saying, well, surely then knowing that brands are going to be even less likely to talk about their sustainable practices. And what actually came out as well in the study was people aren't after perfection. They just want to be taken on the journey and they want
Mm,
transparency. And it's okay that you might not be meeting all your like your markers or your metrics, but if you're upfront and you are like as a brand or as a business, if you're able to fully take them on the journey and come across as genuinely trying to make
mm.
change, that is much better than being this shiny offering of saying
Yeah.
how perfect and eco and sustainable you are.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think it also speaks to a transition and that that it was probably it's a bit like a New Year's resolution, right? It's like I'm going to get fitter this year, and it's like you can say it all you want, but at some point you've either got to eat better and go for a walk.
Yeah,
You've actually got to come and deliver. So I think I feel okay. I certainly don't think it's I don't think it's good or bad. I think it's good that kind of good that people out there stating positive things, and I think it's okay that it's a differentiator because people are looking. But
Yeah,
and I agree it's messy, but I think in a few years' time it should be a bit normalized, right? The sustainability words. We should expect it.
yeah.
Like we don't. You don't expect to buy some food and have it to be off or to be
No,
to
it's
be
the trust.
dangerous for you, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, there's
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
so we 20 years ago this wasn't an important issue. It is now. We've got to integrate it. We're in the middle of it, and the language around it, I think, has got to be developed. So I think that's yeah,
yeah.
I
I
agree. I
did,
think it's
I found the stat. It's 38% explicitly distrust sustainability messaging. So that's a
yeah,
lot.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
I've got that on the screen here. So okay, small axe plateau. So this is the I'm using the plastic I'm using the paper straw. So why isn't climate change stopping?
Yes, and it's also I'm doing these things, and that's enough. Like
Yeah,
I'm recycling, that's my bit. That's
yeah,
that perception. And it also drilled down to identifying that people are making these small changes in their home, like they might be like using reusables at home,
yeah,
anything to do with the home that they have control over, which is totally fair enough.
yeah,
That's they're comfortable making change. But
yeah,
anything outside the home, even and cars, they're like the EV piece that kind of drops right down.
yeah, yeah. Again,
Yeah,
I think it's got to be normalized, but it's an interesting one because I know there was a lot of talk about how that the fossil fuels industry introduced the concept um, of a carbon environmental footprint to basically put the blame back on the individuals.
yes,
Um, and to some degree, I think that that's I get why that was probably effective, but I also think if the individuals act up and they do change their purchasing behavior and they do make these decisions, then I think it actually does build up and puts pressure back on businesses and governments because if one of the reasons why Australian government, I think, don't want to talk about climate is because the average person doesn't like is makes it's difficult for them to prioritize it, and I get why that's the case. But if it was the biggest issue, if we were being hit by floods and bushfires and droughts constantly, which we kind of are, but if everyone was feeling them, then it wouldn't matter about cost of living because your cost of living is about you having your house not flood or burn down, so on a fire. So
yeah,
um, I think there's a really interesting interplay there between that the pressure of individual actions building up and not giving up on that, but also recognizing that that is a means to an end. That's a lever to action
yeah,
for corporates or government or investors. It's not individually. It actually isn't enough. It's got to be like I can look at Red Cycle in Australia. Like,
yeah.
hey, we recycle soft plastic. Everyone went, we're in, and we collected it, and they went, it's too much. We can't actually process it. And you're like what? How? That must have really hurt actually, because everyone was like, well, I did it. I carried all the bags in, and then they shut down. And you're like that was a big
I think it really
consider.
did. I think that was like a real turning point for people feeling like, why, why would I bother? And
Yeah,
then like the contrast of, um, seeing billionaires fly everywhere around the world. Like I'm remembering my Keep cup every day. Although on this slide, most of the participants made no mention of Keep cups. So
yeah,
that's a habit that's gone out the window as well.
yeah,
There is definitely a feeling of like, why, and I have always believed in this as well. It's going to take all of us. And
sure.
if all the effort is on the individual, then
Yeah.
yeah, it's too much.
I think so too. Like I kind of feel also okay about this in the transition, in that those who believe will keep making actions, and actually, as policy gets a bit stronger and as products get a bit better, it'll get a bit easier. I think this one's going to be a gradually but suddenly in terms of
Yeah,
the. Like my local council now is doing organic composting bins as of next year, and it's like
yeah,
I've been composting, and the average person now will be able to do it really really easily. Like, and it's not
yes,
that's how we get to the majority. So
yeah,
that's a really good one. Theme
yeah,
four, fatigue is the new barrier. Caring hasn't stopped, belief has. So
yeah, which is
um,
interconnects with all the others. It's
uh,
like,
yeah,
yeah.
the 2%
Um,
gave a hard no to paying more. So that's like so
so
only
people
2%.
care,
Yeah,
yes. There's
yeah,
the minority, there's hardly anyone said that they, but again, this, I mean, you could. you could dive deeper in, explore that more as well,
Mm.
because you could argue that it's the same thing. They're saying that they would not pay more, but
Yeah.
does it actually translate to how do we quantify what their behavior actually is? So
Yeah.
there's still a lot, there's still more unpacking that we can do. But
Yeah. Yeah. The fatigue is a really important one, and I will say personally, like right now, there's a lot of inspiration. There's a lot I'm excited about this year, but I feel like here we are in November, and we're still talking about like we've got entire political parties like trying to take it off the table, and I get the
yeah,
politics is different to the action, but there's fatigue all over the place, and I can
yeah,
imagine. I've only been working in this space for 9 years, actually. Like,
yeah,
there's people who've been doing this for decades. And I really hope actually that the small groups of people who are the believers keep pushing because I do think we are breaking through.
yeah,
But I think it is really important to know for the average person, don't expect them to just to be like, oh wow, you're good for the environment. Let me cross town and pay $100 more for that. So I think that's good to know.
yeah, yeah. Everyone's
Interesting one.
tired. Yeah.
Everyone's tired, and it goes to this
Um,
point: competing priorities. Like I think that's one of the reasons why they're tired is they're tired. I think because of the length of it, because we've been doing it for for a long time now,
yeah.
um, and and it's getting beaten up. But also there is competing priorities there.
Yes, I think the contrast to that on the previous slide where it said only 2% said they'd absolutely not pay more. On the flip
Yeah,
side, only 29% said they would absolutely pay more for sustainable products. But
yeah,
again, I feel like the next body of work that I would be interested in is the tackling the perception of living sustainably is more expensive.
yeah,
And so how do you pick out the cost saving benefits?
yeah.
Yeah, I think that it's interesting that that's the perception.
I
And
had a
in many
really
ways
interesting
it is.
one.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, go.
I saw an interesting one this morning about somebody was saying, there's no way I'm getting an EV and waiting half an hour for it to charge. And their argument was, oh, did you know there's a petrol station nearby that's offering petrol for 75% off, but it's got a very slow delivery pump. It only does like a liter a minute, and you're like, so it'll take me
Half an
half
hour.
an hour to fill up the tank. You're like, well, to save $75, I would. And the same thing, like if you're like petrol prices are going to go up and up,
Yeah.
and if you're charging from your solar and you're plugging in, and I loved actually the Jimmy Reese video. I don't know if you saw that on EVs, where he's like, I've got an EV, and everyone's asking me, what do I do? And he goes, I just plug it in, just
Yeah.
plug it in. You're like, so I think that I think we're crossing the line on some of the competing priorities, and I think there is a narrative and a feeling, and there's an inertia, but
Yeah.
I think actually that's that we are getting like solar's an easy one. You're like, if you can afford some upfront and you can do it through Bright, then you can get solar, and eventually your energy prices, your bills are coming down. Like there's
Yeah.
no, you can say whatever you want about bills going up. Like there's
Yeah.
definitely grid going up for a lot of reasons, but if you've got solar and if you've got batteries and you've got an EV, your total energy cost of your house, which includes your petrol and
Yeah.
includes your running all the electricity costs, they should come down, and you should be in more control, not less control.
Yeah.
So I think this battle is going to shift over the next few years.
Yeah, I think so. And it's just another example of behavior change. People don't. When I first got an EV a couple of years ago, I people just stopped me in the street constantly, like so curious, had so many questions, like
Yeah,
how do you charge it, where do you charge it? And I feel like it's
yeah,
just
yeah.
change like that does take time.
It does. I
Yeah.
actually thought that comment at the bottom was from me, from my family, or I might have written it. It was,
I
did
could
I
have
fill
been
that
from
out?
my family too. Yeah.
Well, so I don't have an EV.
No, well, yes, I've got a
yeah,
hybrid too.
yeah, yeah,
Had a very small EV
yeah.
and then it just wasn't. I also have three children, so yeah.
Yeah. Well, and like it's competing priorities, right? And we
Yeah.
actually walk. We barely drive our car. It's 5 years old. We've only done about 40,000 kilometers, and I
Yeah.
would really, really like to get one, but it's and I'm ready. Like my next car will absolutely be an EV, and
Yeah.
they're getting more and more. So I think that's, and I don't think you have, I don't think you can, like with an EV, you're like, well, it's not safe or it's not a good car. Like
No, they're
it,
great cars.
they're great. They're quieter. Like there's
Yeah.
so many benefits to it. And you just we're dealing with 100 years of inertia, and we're changing like 50 things really quickly. Um, but I think about like shopping bags. Like despite certain people putting out media saying that shopping bags or paying for the brown paper bags is a bad thing, vast majority of people take their bags in now, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
they like that's 20 years ago when I grew up, there's like zero people would have done that. Like
No.
you just got plastic bag after plastic bag. You didn't care. So
Yeah.
like we can solve these things. They just take
Yes.
time, and then we create
Yeah.
new habits. Like no one's I think this is one of the big things I get stopped on is people have this thing like, you want me to give up everything that's good in life. Like you want me to eat no red meat or no meat at all, never travel in a plane. I'm not allowed to go in my car for more than 400 kilometers. I can't run my air conditioning. Like I'm like I've never asked any of those things. I'm just saying, maybe can you eat a bit less red meat and a bit more of others, more veggies? Is your next car consider an EV?
Or can you
Can
just walk
you
more, which actually feels good because you're in nature and that feels good as well.
go for a walk? So I think that's yeah, there's such an interesting dynamic to this. And I think it's so bad that there is so much money being spent on disinformation and negativity, because I think if that
Marketing.
wasn't there, we would like if it came down to rational choice, the battle around an EV, like home batteries is a great one. 100,000 home batteries installed in Australia since July 1. Like
Yeah.
that is incredible. Like, I mean, how many households do we have in Australia? Like, no, we can't have a lot. I'm gonna check it, but like that's a massive percentage of households.
Yeah. Well, it
Uh,
feeds on to the next theme, which is desire without directions, that pe Australians want to do more, but they don't know what works. They're just confused. Like, do you buy less? Do you buy better? Like,
Yeah,
like, where do you go? Like, and
yeah,
also, what's the first? Like, do I go down like, do I explore solar first, or should I be like focusing on a long-term plan of getting an EV, or do I like
yeah,
where's the impact? And it's just, there's like information overload. So then that
yeah,
creates inertia and then nothing changes. So it's like, how do you cut through the noise? How do you,
yeah.
yeah, help people
I think that's right.
work
And I
out
think
what's,
there are really key moments. Like I had one recently with my friend got a new job, and she pinged me and said, "Hey, I got a new job," and they said, where do you want your super? And I was like, "Oh." She'd been at another job for a long time, and it just sat there. She hadn't thought about it. She's like, "Where should I put it?" And I'm like, "Well, here are two options." And I spoke
yeah,
to him about Future Super and Oz Ethical, and she was like, "Okay, great, okay." Like, and so she would never have in that previous 15 years, I think, gone. I'm going to go and change my super because she's
no,
a busy parent and working hard. Um, but then there was an opportunity. And even like if your hot water heater system breaks down and someone goes, "Do you
yes,
want to
that's an
replace it, or do you want to
opportunity.
get electric
Yeah, yeah,
smart heat pump?" Oh, well, I don't know.
just do
That person has a
whatever.
massive amount of power, right?
Um, totally.
Yeah.
Um,
All right. Where to from
okay.
here?
Where to from here? Um,
You
good
got six
question.
key points.
Yeah. So these all speak to like the themes. It's like
Mm.
how do you remove friction? How do you replace vague claims with data? Um, build from habits is use small acts as launch pads. And I've always said like incremental small change is more like there's less friction around that. It makes it seem easier. Like if you just start with something small, um, and then remove the guilt.
Yep.
It's back to that piece of
Yep.
it being all on the individual. Like it's a
Yep.
shared kind of challenge. So,
Yep.
and I think this the where to from here. This is speaking to the audience that I'm kind of speaking to is policymakers,
Yep.
businesses, and brands. Like, how do you meet people where they are? How will it benefit your business? How can you take them on the journey?
Yep.
Um, and there is no, like, it's not linear, as you and I both know.
Mm,
But like, I think that overall, it's like we need to meet people where they are. And, this report goes a little way into realizing or kind of summarizing that people do care. They just don't know. They're just tired of it all and
yep.
they're tired of the noise. So there's a real opportunity to lead, to meet them where
Yep.
they are, to kind of help them make small change, simplify the pathway, and make it easy. Like what we were saying before about if you're building a product or a service, make it so good that it is the one that people want to use, or buy, and then layer in the sustainability as well. Like that's like a nice to have.
Mm,
And you and I know that it's not a nice to have, but in terms of what
yeah.
people want, they want something that works, and then
Yep.
how good it happens to be sustainable as well.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
I think also reframing around the other benefits. So it's like, I think there's no way um EVs would be where they are if it was purely on environmental. I think it's a nice bonus, but they're good cars. They're quiet. They charge overnight. You never have to go to a petrol station. And the first ones that came out obviously were like they were super quick. Like they're actually faster and they're fun. Like there's a nice novelty about them. And I think certainly on the B2B side, which is a really big one, and obviously you focused on consumer, but the just purely focusing on economic benefit, that's an easy one. It's like especially if cost of living is a big issue, focus on products that can actually help people save money.
yeah,
So that can help.
totally.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problems. It was such an important conversation. Like last question, one thing that's really struck me, and it came out a number of weeks ago now. I've lost all track of time, but the
Yeah,
government um, national determined contributions (NDCs). Yeah, we set our targets.
yeah,
Some people want them to be much bigger. I think politically. Like politically, I think it's a little bit similar to the climate tech companies, which is if you talk too much about it, it's going to get complex. It's
yeah,
going to have fatigue. People are going to get confused. Like I don't know whether a big bold target. I mean, I think it probably helps investment and business to
yeah,
some degree, but
yeah,
I don't know if politically, like I think scrapping net zero is I think still feels crazy, but I also
yes,
get that actually the politics around this is very different from the actual building and rolling out of solutions, different from the education, different from the research. Like it's a different part. Are there any insights you have in terms of like should climate be on on the agenda? Do people care enough to make it a political um, item?
Oh gosh. Y- People, yeah. Yes, people care, but I think that again, it's like there's competing interests, right?
Yeah.
Like what we're saying of like cost of living, like external factors like geopolitical conflict.
Yep.
There's lots of competing interests. So I think that yes, it should come into politics. Yes, politicians should be talking about it and prioritizing it, but it seems like it's not enough for that to be their only kind of policy that they're really driving hard on. I think that it needs to come as a holistic package that shows that they care about many factors that Australians care about. Um, but it's yeah, it's very nuanced.
Yeah. It
It's
is, and I think
very
it doesn't quite suit a soundbite, right? Which I think is a part of the challenge. I think,
I
especially on the negative.
know. Yeah,
One thing I will say politically is that I think that actually making sure there are opportunities for everybody to contribute in the energy transition is important. I think
yeah,
if you have a view that you're disrupting car companies or energy companies or anybody, then you make them defensive. So I think there's trying to find ways for everyone to participate and collaborate. but I mean, it's still very, very complicated. But Jenny, thanks so much for doing this research. It's really important. We'll share a link to so people can download the report.
Thank you.
And I really hope you keep doing this because I think it's really, really important research.
Thanks so much, Mick. I loved it. Thanks for having me. I'll hopefully talk to you soon.
Thanks.